What's going on, guys? Jeff here. Lions, Tigers, and Rants on my. It's been a little while since I posted a video, but we're going to go ahead and get started on one. Today is going to be a brief one. The NFL season is right around the corner, and I'm very excited. I'm obviously a biased 49ers fan, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about the 49ers today. And I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen in the 49ers season. We'll talk about best case record, worst case record, and then realistically what I think is going to happen. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. So 49ers are getting Jimmy Garoppolo back, healthy. Had a little bit of ups and downs in the preseason, but you know what? He had a couple bad games, had a really good game. It's preseason. None of that matters anyway. So what I think is going to happen is I think Jimmy plays all 16 games. I think he has a good season, not a great season. 3,500 yards or so, 25 touchdowns is where I think he's going to be at. Maybe a little over that, but no less than 25 touchdowns in my opinion. I think the 49ers, best case scenario, the 49ers go 10-6, and they make the playoffs as a wild card, and they're competitive in the playoffs. They probably get knocked out in the first round. That's the best case scenario. This is obviously a young team, still growing. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. John Lynch has a lot to prove still. Not a big fan so far. But I think on the defensive side of the ball, the 49ers will be in the top 15 in defense. I think their sack yardage will be their sack totals will be in the top, I would say the top 8 to 10. This is, again, best case scenario. I think if the 49ers get a healthy D-line, they get, Bosa, Armstead, D. Ford, and DeForest Buckner, it could be a really good rotation on D-line. Again, after the quarterback, I think their interception total, best case, worst case, whatever scenario, will at least double from the 2 interceptions they had as a team last year. So I think that's the best case. I think the defense comes out, they're competitive, they keep them in games, they're getting pressure on quarterbacks, and I would say that they're in the top 15 defenses between the range of 12 to 13. Best case, 8, I would say, overall defense. Now let's talk about the worst case scenario for the defense. So the worst case scenario, in my opinion, for the 49ers defense is Bosa gets hurt and D. Ford never pans out. And DeForest has another season like last year, which he's proven he's capable of, but it doesn't really matter because with those 2 guys hurt, their sack totals is about the same, which was abysmal. They rank close to the bottom 5 in the league. They're getting beat consistently on coverage. Same amount of interceptions. I find it impossible that they only get 2 interceptions all season again. So I don't think that even the worst case scenario, they get that little amount of interceptions. But I would say the biggest thing, worst case, is injuries. If they, get a lot of injuries on the D-line and their cornerback, because after Richard Sherman, there's not really much behind him at cornerback. So I would say the worst case scenario, the defense is bottom 5, getting torched, basically the same as last year. And as far as the offense goes, worst case scenario, I would say Jimmy G gets hurt again, and Nick Mullins comes in, doesn't do much, which I don't think he would do. I think he played all right last year for what he was asked to do, but you play a full 16 games with Nick Mullins, it's not going to be pretty. So I think overall, we're going to say best case scenario for the 49ers, like I said, 10-6, a top 10 to 12 defense, and a rebound year for Jimmy. They're competitive. They make the playoffs. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, riddled with injuries. They have a bunch of backups in there making plays for them. They go, I think, honestly, even in the worst case, they go 5-11. John Lynch is fired. Kyle Shanahan is fired. They missed the playoffs, injuries, like I said, 5-11. Now, what I actually think is going to happen is I think the 49ers will go 9-7. I think Jimmy G plays the whole season, has some ups, has some downs. Overall, pretty good performance from him. I would say he throws at least 3,000 yards, north of 20 touchdowns. Keeps them in games, but ultimately they're still a few pieces away. The defense comes out and plays well, shows a lot of things, but they're still a few pieces away, especially in the secondary, as well as the linebacker. But the D-line is what keeps this defense in games. And I would say that they go 9-7 and just miss the playoffs, just miss that wild card spot. But they're competitive and fighting for a playoff spot all the way until the end. That is what I realistically think happens for the 49ers in this next upcoming season. So there you have it. There's my tidbit on the 49ers and how the 2019-2020 season will go for them.